God damn it, I'm again tasked with trying to justify Vel'Koz's appearance on competitive scene. I can only do this for so long. From the last time I was talking about the Vel'Koz on Worlds, I mentioned that Caps could potentially play it. And I also said Nemesis doesn't regard Vel'Koz as a great pick, and that's probably why he didn't practice it as much. I'm pretty sure that's part of the issue there. He should have listened to LS, he should have practiced it, and maybe it would have been better, you know? Even if it was good in Vel'Koz. Yeah, I don't care much about the rest, honestly. I care about the lifespan of Vel'Koz in the competitive meta. That's what I care about. Not particularly interested if, like, his team hinted him, apart from, like, trying to justify was Vel'Koz a good pick, or could he have been played to a better extent, or whatever. Actually, I think Sauron went over to, like, either Nemesis or LS and said, does Nemesis want Vel'Koz coaching and shit like that? I'm pretty sure he did something along those lines, but I think nothing happened out of it. So let's go in here. He did the 3 points W, then maxing Q. That was his skill order. It's been happening even more than usual. People love to criticize Glacial, and like I hate Glacial, but sometimes it's very justified. Here I don't see the point for it. Here the only purpose Glacial serves was quality of life. It's Nemesis being insecure on his Vel'Koz, and Glacial makes it a lot easier to play. And this is why what Ellis said so accurately. I'm gonna quote him. He said, like, that there's no mid laners who are really competent at piloting champions such as Xerath, Vel'Koz, and Ziggs, and something along those lines. He said, which is absolutely correct. And here you can see the insecurity of the Vel'Koz player. He's going Glacial for absolutely no reason. You can still buy GLP first and snowball Orianna mid game, except you're going to be way stronger because you're going Comet. And this Glacial is, in my opinion, is just an overkill, a bit of a pointless thing, and it's just there for safety. Because if you think about it, okay, we're going to keep track throughout the game, because I watched on phone and I didn't like notice too much, but like, what's the scenario where Vel'Koz engages here? First of all, Sion has ult, Lee Sin has jumps, Ezreal's jumps, Karma movement speed boost, Glacial dead useless. Glacial only has value versus Orianna, let's say. You can slow her and maybe chase her down, but by that point they're gonna peel her, you know. And then Karma can speed her up and all that good jazz. So what's the sequence in which Glacial is here is useful? 1v1. Okay, does even 1v1? No. How are you gonna start fights? It's either gonna be Ornn or Hylissang going in, or you're gonna land Q as Vel'Koz and then maybe Reckless will bind, or a Reckless ult and then you chase him down. So only in the last scenario Glacial could be kind of alright to catch up, but I don't value it here. I think Comet would be way nicer for the damage, because he's not gonna be the facilitator in these fights. He's not gonna be the engage. He's not gonna be creating the plays. He just has to follow them up, and he needs to be a damage dealer, and they're gonna lack damage with this comp. They're gonna really lack damage. The only good synergy, like, look how inefficient Glacial here. It's good against Orianna, only against her, and it's good with, well, it can only enable Kha'Zix a little bit. Because let's say you shoot Twin Shadows and then maybe Kha'Zix follows up and kills him. Okay, beautiful. Or you pop GLP, if you can't land abilities, then Kha'Zix comes in and pops him. You know, so that's kind of the only synergy. You're only trying to enable Kha'Zix, and if Kha'Zix doesn't get mega fed, your damage in this game will be atrocious. Okay, you'll never kill Sion. You will never kill him, because there's no like what are you're operating on like 2.5 damage dealers in this game, so that's quite sad. I don't see GLP value in this game. Isn't it just Luden's game? Well, I'm just going along their hypothesis here that they want to play Glacial, because they made a decision to play Glacial. So I'm saying, okay, what if you just go GLP instead of Glacial? You have pretty much same value. You get that beat down Orianna value. You get that Kha'Zix setup value. That's it. You're not looking to be engaged. You're not looking to be the support. You're not looking to set up fights. Okay? That's not your job in this game. So Glacial, completely superfluous. If you want to substitute, you can just go GLP and you do the same exact thing. And you get that same exact mid-game spike, which is cheaper, and then you can go Liandry second, instead of having to going to like Lucidity, to going to Twin Shadows, and after Twin Shadows, you're completely stuck because you wasted your first money, which is easy to combine into weak items, then you have no damage and you can't penetrate yet. Okay, here's the early game. This is exactly how early game should go at the highest level. Orianna will zone, Orianna gets flawless CS 25 out of 25, Nemesis is struggling, he's trying to set up minions, and you're forced to farm with Qs and Ws. I mean, that's why you're running Corrupting to compensate for that. So this won't matter that much. You might be minus 10 CS at 10 minutes, like who cares? You know, you got a better spike and you're gonna beat her. As long as you don't fall behind as a team. Vel'Koz running out of sustain, but this is, like, look how the CS equalizes eventually. CS equalizes, as soon as you get to level 5, it gets a lot easier, because Orianna can hardly bully you. Level 6 is even easier, and then, but if you just have to survive on the sustain up until that point, until you have 1.3k, your recall, get lost chapter, boom, then you're fine. And that's exactly what happens. So that Orianna early game, as I mentioned, is negligible. That advantage is very negligible. We've seen that in the past game and in this game with Chovy and then Nemesis. Even though Nemesis played worse laning phase, it still didn't fall that much behind. And it's fine. It's totally fine if you can play mid game correctly. See how much easier it is to farm at this point. He gets the lost chapter, he keeps getting mana, and he just clears, and then he runs off. He's a bit inefficient in his clear. I guess he's a bit, well, I guess inefficient is the right word. Because he does miss a few minions here and there while clearing. And that does eventually hurt him, so he falls behind, I think, like 15, 20. This is the solo bolo, right? Yep.
First blood picked up by Top for the
That's the solo bolo for Bwipo.
Do not secure it, and Bwipo was just bounced sky.
He gets clapped. What else do we got?
Tonight in the middle lane.
Oh, this is weird because Bwipo dies 1v1. They lose the entire topside prio. Okay, you can't contest topside, and this is really weird. Like Kha'Zix even gets his Raptors and he still pushes on. The self-made here kind of naively walks in. Like, look, okay, so Orianna left two seconds ago out of his vision. She left 2 seconds ago out of his vision. And he continues doing this. And Orianna still doesn't show up mid lane. Like, she's still not mid lane. And then he sees her, okay? He even sees her. And he's still, like, trying to be there. This is just self-made mistake here. There's no point in doing this because you lost the top side completely.
Gonna wait for the leap. Jumps over, manages to get caught by the shockwave as well. Self-made is down. Top esports with Night.
That sets them back a bit because Kha'Zix supposed to outscale Lee Sin, and Lee Sin plays a phenomenal early game here. Karsa does incredible job on trying to push his team ahead, which is exactly what they need to do in this early game. Because if they get to mid game on an equal basis, Fnatic should take this because they have a better structured like fight. They like with Rakan Ornn fight, if they're equal, they're gonna win, you know. But if it's chaotic style and if Lee Sin is crazy, if Ezreal's crazy, they're jumping, they're picking them off, they're just gonna straight up dominate them. So that's exactly what ends up happening. I think this is a good call. I didn't see like the start of it, but from the looks of it, I think he landed what, 6 stacks? I think he landed 6 stacks, right?
On the Lee Sin, 1 kill for 3.
Oh wait. Yeah, he did, right? I'm guessing he hit the Q, he landed double, and then the second double erupted and all 3 stack. So he does deal 6, but at this point, because you're not ahead, that does a 1-shot, or if you didn't poke her. So it's good. This is a good play. This is a good Vel'Koz play. This is how you're supposed to play Vel'Koz in competitive. Because you're not going to get those like 1v1 1-shots because people are too smart for that. So you're gonna play for prio, and you're gonna gain prio like this, then maybe rotate to bot lane and then try to set them, try to put them behind because there's no teleports available. So yeah, this is where they go bot lane. Nemesis for some reason here is like hovering mid lane for extra 5 seconds, 10 seconds instead of going immediately bot lane. Like I don't know why he was like hovering mid lane, like even 10 seconds, even more.
Really good play there. From top self-made
he could have immediately gone bot lane without going for this raid, and they could have dove this easily. Now they dive a bit early, and Hylissang is stingy with his abilities, and that caused them to be a trade, which is really bad. They're giving Jackie a lot of free money. See, Hylissang was late on his ult, he didn't ignite, he didn't flash over that wall, Just
into
random.
the root. Telesang will be taken up by the tower as well as the minion. They trade one.
And now
for one.
Vel'Koz arrives,
Jaguar picks
which
up
he should have been in the first place in the first dive, just because he wanted to get extra 6 minions, which Orianna matched the 6 minions. He gained no advantage from that. And they, like, Orianna will still get a decent recall. She has no TP. He didn't need to, like, stall her, you know? There's nothing
but here comes
happening
Nemesis.
here
Remember,
for...
no life form
They
disintegration
just equally
rate.
traded
Self-bait's
away,
gonna stealth up.
but
The
fucked up the
curtain
dive.
is called. Jackie Lab has an arcane shifted.
They messed up the dive for it,
tower.
so.
Leap forward from Selfmade.
They
Nemesis
do
is
get a
taking
nice
it up.
kill, and it's good that it goes to Vel'Koz because you want to get it as soon
Nemesis
as possible.
gets killed. 2 back for Fnatic.
Fnatic continue to target
And that I think gives him
Jackie Love
GLP,
in this
right?
bottom lane, and they
Immediately.
make
Yeah,
the
that will
dive where
give him
Killing
GLP.
sacrifices his life to remove the
And
support,
from
knowing
now
that
on,
Nemesis
nothing
would
happens with
eventually
that
come,
GLP.
and they'll be able to finish off that
That's
kill.
a
At the same
bit
time,
sad.
though, the storm
That's the GLP versus Archangel spike. Once you have that, you can dominate the mid game, and that's exactly what happens. Like you get the GLP. Orianna is Archangel, even though he's behind like 3 waves. If fight happens, you just zone them off and slow them. Do you think Ludens would be better? Not necessarily. I just think Glacial shouldn't have been picked.
augment as
You
well,
can
so it's
pick
very easy for him
GLP
to
without
surge out
Glacial, you know.
and look for that CC to set up for his team.
Still highly
It's so
efficient.
important to call
Never
for
good to pick up
Jackie Love.
Archangel on
Matchup
Vel'Koz,
is a
no.
few years
I doubt it.
in the making.
too
Fnatic
slow.
can just target to the bottom lane over and over. This game,
Like, look, Vel'Koz the champion works on a mid-game basis. And mid-game basis, like, the worst power spike you can have in solo queue. In competitive, it's a decent one, but you want to reach it as soon as possible. So, because Vel'Koz curve goes like, I'm losing. Oh, it's mid-game. I'm good. I can make some plays. Okay, it's late game. I have no impact. That's how Vel'Koz plays. So when you go Archangel, you're like, oh, I'm losing. Oh, I'm supposed to be playing now, but I'm still losing because I need my Archangel, maybe Landry. Okay, now I can play. And by that point, like, most games will be over, you know? So it's not worth to delay your most efficient spike, because that's where you want to make plays as soon as possible. That's partly the reason why GLP is amazing, because you get 400 gold cheaper, and then you can enable yourself. This is where they kind of panic and fall apart. Ornn gets left alone, because he's behind and they don't want to play around him. He just gets even pushed even more behind. Karsa does an amazing job while they're trying to kill their bot lane in the mid, which they're like absolutely unkillable. What are you going to do to Karma Ezreal? The very best thing can do is make a mirror play on the bottom side of the map. That's basically the only thing you can make if you don't want to contest top side, because top side is done. You can utilize that teleport from Nemesis, let's say, for a bot lane or something like that. You can do a 4-man, and they shouldn't be able to match them in time. But yeah, due to Herald, they would still lose the base phase, I think, but either way, it's just not good. Now Orianna is quite ahead of Vel'Koz, and soon she's going to get the Archangel. Okay, at this point, we see the CDR on Vel'Koz, which is, I mean, the classic when you're playing support, because you're playing for CDR stuff. And he went with the Dark Seal this time around. So that's the difference from the last game. Last game, I said, like, I would have loved to see Dark Seal into Magi's. But I think now that they're behind, and he bought it quite late, so he didn't even get those 2 first stacks. I mean, obviously, you don't want to buy it to hinder your GLP if you want to rush GLP. But still, like, now it doesn't even really matter that you have it, because you're not going to make plays. Because again, your build is super cheap. Might as well go Dark Seal. It can fix your damage. And this is really good. Like, look at this. Look at this Sion. Look at this Sion. He has no clue what Vel'Koz does. The very fact that he ulted this away means that he has no clue what Vel'Koz does, and he panic ulted away, which is kind of hilarious. And this is why Vel'Koz can still work on pro scene, because even pros don't realize what the champion does. So, secondly, there's a mistake of Nemesis. Like, he has no reason to be here. Like, look what he did. They have 2 wards in the bottom side brushes. Okay, good. Because they had the bot lane, they had Sion bot, and then they relegated Nemesis to clear the wave. So he cleared the wave from his turret, and then he pushed it to Sion's turret. Tried to hard engage him with a combo, which I guess worked all right, because he ulted away. But look at his positioning. He's a Vel'Koz in a side lane on the weak side of the map, with no vision. And, like, no vision on enemies. It's like, there's so many no's in there. Like, there's so many, like, reasons not to do that, you know? Because look at the vision they have. They have a pink behind him. They have a ward behind him. And he has wards in these brushes and some Jhin traps. So the entire river is like wide open for Lee Sin to creatively like jump over or just go through tri-brush, which is the simplest way. And it's just, I don't know why he's doing this. Like, why would you siege Sion right here?
And it got starting to look like they're in trouble. 2-1-0.
Especially because you're glacial. You're not meant to one-shot people or destroy them. You're meant to support your team.
On Jackie Love's Ezreal, huge advantage in the top lane as both
So yeah,
of those
like
towers
there's
have
4
been
guys in
felled.
the mid lane. Orianna is top lane, and
is on Ornn, so the
they
value
can't
they
account
provide
for
is
Lee
still
Sin, nor
going
they
to be
can
there, but
match
there's
it.
no
So
room for error on the side of Fnatic as Nemesis is the next
this is
guy.
just like the
Once again, looking
simplest
to bot
gank
lane, has the
ever.
kick.
Well, there we
This
go.
is the
Nemesis
simplest gank
flashes
ever, and
away.
he flashes for no reason.
Resonating strike comes forward, and Carcer easily
That
runs
flash
down,
was really
Nemesis.
like
That was
pointless because he was dead. So.
has had such
And she
a
shoves in,
gigantic
immediately
influence
rotates. Nemesis
in the
shoved in,
flow
then
of
he
the
stayed
game.
to shove in
It has
more
allowed
instead of
Jackie
shoving
Love
and
and
rotate.
Yanja to
Because you,
stand
as a
for winning.
Vel'Koz, you don't want to be in a side lane. You don't like 1-3-1. 4-1 maybe, 5v5 great. You don't want 1-3-1. If you're 1-3-1, you stack the wave, shove it, get out. Or prepare like with a crash, prepare a dive. If your team is playing that side, but if you're weak side, you get out. Okay, they stack a dragon.
Alright,
That's on
Vel'Koz
Vel'Koz
comes up
zone
from
there.
Quickboy. We'll get a knock-up. Dragon is secured by Fnatic, but at what cost?
Okay, just pay attention to the usage of glacial. Usage of glacial is to slow a Sion who already ulted. Which is why I said, like, it only works on Orianna, because you're not gonna slow anyone else down ever. So you're not slowing them down. They're all jumping on you, going through you. Look at this. And because he doesn't have flash, he dies here because he can't flash away. Because he wasted it. If he didn't die in the bot lane for no reason, if he didn't push for no reason, if he didn't flash for no reason, they could have traded 1 for Dragon, which is totally fine.
On top.
This is a position where you don't want to be in. You're 6,000 gold down. You have a glacial Vel'Koz who deals no damage. You have Kha'Zix who's behind, deals no damage. You have Ornn who's behind, not that tanky. You have Jhin. Jhin is good for execution, not for really crushing enemies. So what is he gonna do? They have essentially like 1.5 damage dealer here. So if they just put Sion in front, the game is over, straight up. So yeah, as I said, as I wrote on Twitter to someone asking me, like, this game is slightly different than the last Vel'Koz game we saw. Because in the last Vel'Koz game, the Vel'Koz was perfect, the pick of the Glacial was perfect, the team not playing around, it was pretty sad. Here, it's a little bit of everything. They just get straight up outclassed. He goes totally wrong runes, in my opinion, in my estimation. Like, he's not supposed to play the role at all here. And also, it's paired up with his personal mistakes. Slightly weaker laning than Chovy, and his personal mistakes, it also set him behind, and that's not where you want to be. So he's got all these mistakes stacked up against him, all these like deficiencies. So it's a quite difficult scenario for Vel'Koz now. Again, I'm pretty sure this is because Nemesis is a bit afraid and a bit insecure on his Vel'Koz skill level, so he opted for a quality of life cheaper version to play, which is a lot easier, but a low risk, low reward, you know? With a higher risk, higher reward playstyle, you obviously, like, it's harder to play, but the benefits can be much greater. And this is Worlds. I mean, if you're not prepared to risk it, if you're not prepared to gamble on yourself that you're gonna play well, I mean, I don't know what you're doing here. You want to be able to make those sacrifices, this playstyle, because Glacial is not only like, Glacial is not, oh, I'm choosing between Comet and Electrocute. When you pick Glacial, there's so many implications with that. There's so many indirect things that happen. Because when you pick Glacial, you have to go Glacial build path to make it efficient. Now, Glacial build path means you have to sacrifice your first 5,000 gold into basically no damage. You know? You have to sacrifice 5k gold to no damage. Because you're playing that utility style. And not only does it not... It doesn't permit you to build highly aggressive. So Glacial is just... It's not like it's a bad rune by itself, but it also pushes your build path in a different direction. Whereas if you just go GLP into Landry's, you're much, much more efficient. Also, to contrast the game with Chovy played, we saw no flash forces either. Like, he didn't go with the Glacial and slow someone, implying that he's going to one-shot them after the slow, so they're forced to flash away. Didn't happen once. Chovy forced Orianna's flash on Showmaker twice, just with Glacial. And he was setting that up. His team didn't play for him. Here, like, they didn't do anything with it. It's just a weakness. Okay, look at that. Boom, there we go. We hit the Glacial. He hit Jackie Love. with 1Q after the Twin Shadows and GLP. Okay? What does he do? He jumps in. He doesn't care, dude. He doesn't care about your glacial. There's no implications behind it. You hit the glacial? Fine, I'll just jump forward away from the glacial.
It gets a lot of damage, but
and he just claps him.
Trying to find a pick, trying to find
glacial is not relevant against characters that are immune to slows or that can jump to you. That's Sion immune to slow, and then Lee Sin jump, Ezreal jump, and then Karma movement speed basically negating it. So it's this is where top gives them a chance. This is where top esports trolls so hard. They want to get both. They want to get Baron and Dragon. And I was shouting at my screen when this was happening. Okay, because you're gonna see they go immediately Baron. They're gonna go Dragon obviously to the mirror play, and they split up. Try to contest both, which is really random. And this is where I was literally shouting, "Go in, engage, dude!" I just wanted to see them engage, because look, Sayo goes in. San goes in to contest. I know why Nemesis is eating those grapes, denying Hylissang, but whatever. They should have just rammed into them before they get here. This is like the only chance they have to use their engage. Hylissang has both flash and ult. Reckless has everything up. Vel'Koz can slow. This is where they're supposed to fight immediately and kill them before the rest come. Okay, they have to kill these guys fast before the rest come. Dragon is theirs either way, they just have to go in fast. And they're a bit hesitant here. Like, they're a bit hesitant, they're working on the Dragon before turning. And now, the call is like, run away. For some reason. Where if they just, like, top esports could have just collected Baron, recall, let them have this one Dragon, because they're never going to get a second one. The game will be over before the next Dragon. They're just going to penetrate the base GG. Okay? They troll here by going to contest both. And Fnatic is like, get the Dragon, get out. Yeah. Instead of just turning and smacking. This is where they have to like make a decisive call. Go in. Okay? Boom. Hylissang. Orianna is dead. That's how their engage is supposed to work. And if they were equal, this is what could have happened. You just delete that Orianna, and the game is over after that. But now, because they're a lot weaker, it takes them a bit longer, and by the time they get people, the rest come, and then it goes into a full-on fiesta. But this is hella worse, because first of all, you're killing their Baron play. Okay? Orianna is dead 30 seconds. Sion dead 50 seconds. That means they waste like 1/3 of their Baron right off the bat. That means they can't penetrate your base.
From the mid lane.
What can Jackie Love do?
With a double box, he's jumping on a Bwippo. He's got the damage down.
Here it gets all kind of like crazy. If this went slightly better, they could have won the game actually. There's one good Q from Nemesis where he hits Karsa while flying in here. I don't know if it was aiming for it or if it was aiming for Jackie-Lo, but it doesn't matter. So yeah, that's a good trade.
Absolutely ridiculous. The two-shot barrage looks.
This is the only good trade that I had in the game. Yeah, I really want to see Caps Vel'Koz. I feel like he would outperform Chovy and Nemesis by far. I feel like Caps would outplay him, for sure. Chovy did significantly better than Nemesis. His team inted him. Nemesis and team kind of misplayed all at the same time, and the idea behind the Vel'Koz pick was misplayed, so everything went a bit wrong. Isn't the Knight build of Comet GLP Landry better? Yeah, it's perfect. Knight, so far, is the best Vel'Koz competitive player I've seen. For sure. Like, the game I watched from... To be fair, his team played incredibly around him, and they made a really sick comp, and they picked him in decent cases, but Knight plays way better than this. Like, Knight Vel'Koz is phenomenal. He knows what he's doing. He plays that champ a lot. Like, you can tell he's confident on it. He goes Comet into Lucian. Okay? Comet into Lucian. That's big ball strat, you know? That's like, I'm gonna beat you. And he actually did. He 1v1 Lucian. He got a solo Bolo and Lucian versus Vel'Koz. Like, hilarious. And he hard carried the game. I'd probably go Landry, but really, because you can't buy dead cap because you don't have money, but either one is just bad. Because it's too late. You're not gonna fix your damage. Because by the time you're buying these, like, cheap, you're buying these, like, B tier items. Because you're stuck in the glacial build path. Now, your third item cannot fix you as much. Because you're gonna get either Landry or Void Staff or wait for decap for 2 years. By the time you're getting that to enhance, because all those items enhance the damage you have ever so slightly. Because decap enhances the current damage, Void Staff enhances the current damage. Landry's is the only one that's outside of it, and doesn't matter how much damage you previously have. Landry is going to deal the same amount. So maybe Landry would be the best because you can also proc it with GLP and you can deal decent poke. But Void Staff and Decap are going to enhance the little damage that you have. And by the time you're enhancing that little crap damage you have, like Orianna is going like kilometers ahead of you. She's enhancing the insane spikes she already has by getting a Decap. You know? And, you know, Landry's would have been probably the best in this scenario, but because he has Ornn, it would probably be best to go Decap, because then Ornn can upgrade your Decap, because there's no Ornn items in his inventory. So probably Decap would be the best here as third, but he has no money for that. He has to buy a spike, otherwise they'd lose the game before he buys anything, so it's just doomed at this point.
Esports, they can run straight into the...
And this, I really don't get this scenario. I really don't get, like, as Vel'Koz, you're never going to use teleport mid to late game. Like, you can't really use teleport mid to late game. And he goes here to clear top side. The goal is, okay, we forfeit mid inhib. Mid inhib's low value. Why wouldn't he just teleport to the bottom side? He could have sneakily ported, let's say, to bottom side, like a couple of seconds before this, and just hard clear the bot wave before they enhance it. Because they go as 5 mid inhib, even though mid inhib is gone. Like, they could have... what top esports could have done here is like devote one guy to enhance the bottom side, and that would like push it in, and they could rotate because they're giving everything up and they see Vel'Koz top side. But Vel'Koz could have earlier teleported bot side, clear the wave, and then they could give only one in him.
Brutal.
So that was quite sad. I was pleasantly surprised by Chovy's Vel'Koz. I was pleasantly surprised by it. I was enjoying it, and I was frustrated by the team. Here it was a little bit of everything, and I felt they completely missed the mark on Vel'Koz. I don't know. Maybe they just drafted it to like surprise enemies, but they surprised themselves at the same time. Like, I really can't put my finger on it, why they did what they did. But you worry people will be discouraged off of Vel'Koz? Well, look, you can choose between people never touching Vel'Koz ever in competitive, or maybe picking it and then like maybe performing. I'm more inclined for the latter version, because this is way better than Vel'Koz just collecting dust on a shelf. At least this tells me a lot of analysts and coaches understand the Vel'Koz potential, but they have issues on tapping into it. So that's good. Why do you think it's being picked more in this Worlds? Because it's reasonably good, and people aren't. I'm thinking partly because of LS. Partly Vel'Koz is being popular now because of LS. Because my voice is too insignificant, and I keep advocating for competitive Vel'Koz, nobody cares, because obviously I don't have a reach. But LS has been propagating the Vel'Koz on the highest level to like 20k viewers daily, you know? And he's been mentioning it on like the LCK, and he was mentioning it on the Worlds, and you know, he's really trying to make Vel'Koz more popular. And maybe he obviously has a really high standing, and maybe coaches respect him enough to value his opinion, or at least enhance the chance of picking it. So he helped a lot, I think, in getting these picks.